Hello friends, this is Utz, and please forgive me, I haven't uploaded in a couple days. I know some of you look forward to the daily uploads, and it's breaking my heart that I haven't been able to put something that was up to par. I had a couple videos, I decided to cancel them, and instead focus on something else, get some work done. We'll be back on the almost daily videos, probably from now on. Meanwhile, we've been streaming according to the schedule, quite a bit, so please drop by the stream. In fact, if you have dropped by the stream, you will know that in my past few streams playing Dead by Daylight, I've played it quite a bit. It's been quite frustrating. The developers have announced a massive nerf to insta-heals, mostly the pink syringes, the septic agents. And it's been quite bad. Lots of survivors, especially at these ranks, they're trying to get rid of them. And every game, there's an object of obsession. Every game, there's an insta-heal. People have been particularly naughty. And you guys know I don't like to put on my try-hard sweatpants too often. And I haven't been enjoying myself very much. And in between all of these matches, in between all of this frustration, I happened to play against an extremely, I think I can confidently say this is the sweatiest group of survivors I have ever seen. And please don't take it as an offense. These people I played against, please note they are not BMing. They do not talk badly or say anything toxic in the post-game chat at all. They do not bring any map offerings to send me to a horrible map. They don't even bring any real items. Like, they just bring a medkit here and there. They don't bring anything. What these people do, and what really shocked me, is just play ridiculously efficiently. We have a 4-man group running the meta perks, but these are not the usual meta perks you would expect solo survivors or maybe the odd SWF here and there to run. These are perks designed to run the game the most efficiently way possible. And I'll try to, obviously I haven't interviewed them, I don't know them personally, but playing against them a couple times, first of all, it was very frustrating. I feel really sorry for any killer, especially a killer that just reached the ranks recently, that comes up against these people, because they basically give you no choice. I'm gonna walk you through what they run and why it is so damn effective, and why both times I came up against them in a full SWF, I had such a hard time, killing any of them. First of all, you will see that all of them are running Decisive Strike. That's pretty common. At least 3 of them will run Decisive Strike. Decisive Strike at the moment, some people say it was nerfed, the old Decisive Strike was stronger, but the old Decisive Strike had counter work to it. Killers could know about it, they could work around it. The new Decisive Strike has very little counterplay to it. If you get unhooked, the killer has no way of quickly hooking you again, meaning you can get away with a lot of mistakes, meaning you can get away with a lot of very ballsy, very bold plays right in front of the killer. Borrowed time can be here and there, but you don't even need that as well. When you get down, if the killer either has to ignore you or pick you up. There's no other way. You will get picked up by other people. You will pick yourself up with the odd unbreakable, which they also make sure to use. They don't all have to run 4 unbreakables. That's overkill. Only 1 or 2 sprinkled in between, and they have a very solid build with a lot of counterplay to the most common killer strategies to really stall the game. So they run that perk as well. And obviously, if I chase a person and I put them on the hook, they can be there without losing a stage for 1 whole minute. If someone rescues them, they are basically invulnerable for another whole minute. If I hook them again, they need to be on the hook for another whole minute to die. And when they get rescued, inevitably, they have another whole minute of... Sorry, I'm recording with my window open. It's getting hot in Spain these days. They have another whole minute of invulnerability. So if you really look around it, you basically, unless you bring a Mori or some kind of external help, you basically cannot kill a survivor quickly. You cannot slug them because, of the occasional unbreakable. And you also cannot try to hook them very quickly. Any one survivor will take a long time to die. And in the meantime, everybody else is going to be doing work. Because I've seen them play, I know that they don't stack up on gens. Instead, they just spread out and try to do gens as effectively as possible to get the most efficiency out of each person's time. You would also think that they might run the very common exhaustion perks, perhaps balanced landing, perhaps dead hard. They don't run these perks for the most part. Instead, they run sprint burst. Now, sprint burst has a big downside, and that's the fact that you cannot decide when to use it. It has a hefty cooldown, and if you start running, you're exhausted. However, the thing that ties all of these plays and all of these perks together is the fact that one of them at least one of them at least, invariably has Object of Obsession. Now, Object of Obsession is a ridiculous survivor perk. If you run it by yourself, you could argue for and against it with more or less success, but when you run it with a full team, this perk becomes ridiculous. Now, the person with Object of Obsession will immediately call out anything that happens. He is the eyes of the team. If you are playing any of the prep killers, Hag, Trapper, Demogorgon to some degree, anything you do will be called out by the Object of Obsession. Alternatively, if you play the Spirit and try to fake out plays, they can call that out. If you play one of the sneak characters, one of the stealth ones, such as Myers, Ghostface, Pig, as of right now, Object of Obsession can still see all of them. So this person will constantly be feeding information so that everybody else can do the most optimal thing they can be doing at the time. And another thing that they do very successfully and very smartly, mind you, is they will hold their exhaustion. When their sprint burst has returned, they will begin to run at you to make a play. And when you commit a little bit of time to chasing them, they will begin to run away. And they will recover their exhaustion in 1-2 seconds, a little bit. Enough to make you commit, make you make a mistake, and then for them to run away and find safety. The Object of Obsession will run something similar. He will also be constantly feeding information. And should you ever come to him to try and get him, he will have all the help from the rest of the team to try and survive. Now, this, of course, is extremely debilitating. You cannot chase everybody at once. You cannot prep, but at the same time chase. It is a difficult strategy to work around. Sure, if you play some of the very, very top killers and you play at the top of your game, I'm sure you would still be able to power through it. But without the ability to kill one of them quickly, without the ability to slot them, you really are running out of options. Playing against these people, I found it tremendously irritating. I'm not going to lie. You can watch the video of this and you'll know I did not enjoy it. Not so much for myself, but just the knowledge that these people are doing this game after game after game. Again, they're not being toxic. They're just playing the game in a way that I honestly think should be kept. You know, if you're gonna play like that, just get a really good killer friend of yours and practice in a private lobby. Don't play against killers who are starting out. But you know that's not for me to judge. I cannot impose my own views on these people. So I thought to myself, well, if I am going to come up against them again in a stream, I'm not going to dodge, because I really try not to dodge lobbies. But at the same time, I'm not going to make it easy for them. I'm not going to play, Omega Blink Nurse or Ultra Add-on Spirit. I'm going to try to play a killer that's strong, that's fair, and I'm going to set some rules for myself. I'm not going to use a Mori, because that would allow me to kill one of them quickly and could turn the things around. And I'm also not going to use any busted add-ons. No ultra rares and not very rares. Only yellows, green, or anything below. So I began to think of a build that would effectively counter this gameplay. And if I was up in a tournament against them, what would I do against them? And this is what I brought. This is what I slowly thought about. My first concern was Object of Obsession. Object of Obsession is very, very crippling. If I have a guy that's calling out everything I do, I will simply not win. That is too much information for 4 competent survivors to have. So I started to look at things that could inflict blindness. The third seal was my first choice, but it was quickly discarded. That can be found too quickly by a team. So I used a very underrated add-on on Freddy, and I will explain why I used it on Freddy as opposed to any other killer in a minute. But let's talk about it. This is the Unicorn block. The Unicorn block inflicts blindness, and the very nice thing about it is that it cannot be countered. If you are asleep and you step on one of my snares, you are going to be blind. Object of Obsession is a big counter to Freddy, because when you're in the dream, you're not affected by any terror radius, which means you can see the killer at any distance. This renders all of the mind gaming completely impossible, meaning that if you're Freddy, you might as well just go for other people other than the Object of Obsession. But in this case, we knew that it couldn't happen. I had to take that man out as quickly as possible and eliminate the eyes of the team. So I used this. to make him blind. The nice thing about it is that when the object of obsession will be blind, I will be able to see him at any distance. He will not be able to see me. And if he tries to play around any walls, I will be the one mind gaming by seeing him. He will not be able to see me. A very underrated add-on for sure, because everybody thinks blindness is useless, and normally it is. But here I think it fit the niche really, really well. The next one is the best add-on I could think of. I had a rough choice between the jump rope to slow down their progress, healing, doing gens, anything at all while they're asleep. But I also considered, I don't have it right here, but it's called the Nancy's Masterpiece, the other add-on that increases the rate at which you can teleport. Both of those I think would have been pretty good. But that was my choice. As for perks, I knew that I needed something to slow down the game. Ruin needed to buy me time, and it also played another role. When I would see the obsession, I would go straight for the obsession. That would be one fewer person looking for ruin. If I could get their attention a lot and completely eliminate all eyes from the game, everybody else will have a harder decision, either choosing to do gens or splitting up and doing them separately. If they could look for ruin, they could do gens, but they couldn't do everything at once, and that's what I was really, really banking on. I think the most significant change that I did last second was Corrupt Intervention. If you're wondering, all of these four perks, in fact, run together, I think are currently the killer equivalent of what they were running. These are the strongest meta perks on killer right now, as of a general rule. Of course, killer by killer, you might switch one or two, but I think these are the strongest perks you can run on killer right now. Corrupt Intervention forces them to make a very difficult decision. At the start of the match, they spawn, they don't have a generator nearby, because if they're far away from me, the three generators that are further are going to be blocked. So, this will force them to either walk, which they will, if they don't want to get exhausted, that will make them waste time, or they will run. And if they do run, they will be exhausted. And if they are exhausted, I might be able to catch the first one quicker. That was my idea with Corrupt Intervention. With fewer generators, it's also more likely that they will not be able to spread out effectively because there's fewer gens to work on. Discordant comes in play and also lets me know where I should focus with my Pop Goes the Weasel, which I really, really, really need to get. Pop Goes the Weasel is a very, very important part of this build. So my idea going into the match was, I will see the obsession, I will go right after them, I will wait until they fall asleep, either because I managed to hit them, ideally, or because a minute has passed and they fall asleep naturally, which is the worst scenario, but it was also something I was considering. Once that happens, I will place a snare all around whatever I am looping, I will make him blind, and then I will down him. Once I have him up there, I will use the best pop I can, but I will probably not teleport. I don't even want to teleport out. I don't want to teleport out. If they're working on a generator together, I'll go towards that one no matter what. If they're splitting up, Ruin and the jump ropes will help me make sure that those gens don't pop. And when those gens don't pop, I can go and use Pop Goes the Weasel on them instead. So all of these perks in theory should work beautifully, and in practice did work beautifully. And that was my reasoning. So I was ready to try out this build on stream. My plan was to just play the normal way I do, and if I ever came across these fellas, I would just switch out to this build, and I would explain it on stream, and you know, they would sweat their balls off, and I would sweat my balls off, and we would have an interesting match. But what do you know? I queue up, and maybe because of the ranking, the first team I come up across, it's these guys. So I went in, and I played it, and I'm gonna show you the game right now, and I'm gonna pause it every now and then, and I'm gonna go over the game, and tell you what I was thinking, and tell you how I managed to beat these guys. Let's go and watch. So as we're sitting in the pregame lobby, I will explain to you my reasoning why I chose Freddy. I needed a killer that I was good with. I needed a killer that had a chance to work around good perks, such as Object with the add-on, and also Borrowed Time with the new mechanic. I think that if I was a good Spirit, if I was a good Nurse, if I was a good Billy, it's possible that I might have been able to have a chance against these people. I am not. So Freddy was my choice. I know Freddy a little bit, and I think it's playing in this way is a little bit unexpected. Hag, Demogorgon, other killers that are somewhat strong, I don't think would have stood a chance, especially when people have Sprint Burst and they can know exactly where your traps are and they can instantly disarm them. So my idea from the very beginning was to find the Object of Obsession, because I knew he would look at me and tunnel him relentlessly, and that's what I did. You can tell that was a bit of a sloppy play. It doesn't matter. We need to set up traps. When he falls asleep, one way or another, he needs to step on one of the snares. Here he makes a mistake. And luckily I managed to get the hit. Right now, at this moment, after he steps on one of the traps, I now have control. This man cannot see me, and he probably doesn't quite understand why, until he sees the prompt, of course. Now I can see him, but he cannot see me. And you'll see that this will come in play. While being able to see him, I have absolutely no doubt that he's vaulting the windows, and because I don't hesitate at all, I managed to catch him at the very, very last second. Now, this is an amazing start. Ruin is up, one player is down, they cannot be doing gens too quickly, and if they're spreading out, with them about to fall asleep, I should be able to pop any of them. So my idea now is to hook him, get the pop, use it to the best of my abilities, and do not let them have an easy rescue. Let's see how it turned out. This changes absolutely everything. Even if I hook him and I walk there, there's a good chance that if they're landing good skill checks, one person could have been on that gen for like half a minute and the other person could have just joined. I cannot risk this gen being lost, but at the same time, I cannot teleport to it because I'll need the teleport soon in a bit. So what I'm about to do is fake the teleport, make one of them come out. If I can manage to hit one of them, that's going to hurt them. Those 20 seconds that they spend healing or so, whatever time it is, will help me later on. You'll see that these people play very optimally and they do not heal if they don't have a reason to. Let's see how it turned out. I needed to disrupt this. I needed to maybe get a hit and then come back and repeat. We come back just fast enough to prevent any kind of unbreakable play, which I've been very, very conscious about. They are still on this gen, and I still do not want to give up my power. So I will fake it again and just use pop. And right now, it's going to be the awkward moment when they might realize that I have no intention of just playing the game normally. Just the way they are playing optimally, I am about to play optimally. I'm going to make them really, really suffer for that rescue. And if possible, I'm going to down him immediately after the rescue. That way, I'll have to wait a minute, but only 1 minute. This was my mistake. I wasted too much time here. Sprint Burst comes into play and the Obsession gets a good head start. He is now awake, which is a problem. I need to make him fall asleep quickly again. This is the moment where if I fuck up, I will lose the game. On my side, however, is the fact that we're playing on a really good map for Killer, for the most part. And also the fact that Ruin is still up. One gen is gone, and at this rate, I'm going to lose. The Obsession is playing this really well, which forces me to teleport somewhere else and try to approach from a very creative angle. It kind of does work a little bit, but that itself doesn't get me the hit. And it's probably at this point that his team is really panicking. I can hear someone behind me. This man who was playing really, really greedy early now drops pallets like they're hot. Here I make a bit of a misplay. Notice that he's awake so he can see me. Sorry, he's asleep so he can see me. I need to make him fall asleep ASAP. His teammates are hugging me. They know that if this man goes down, one of their big plans will go down with it. And they're coming to try and get my attention. He is now blind. One of them took a hit. And because he is blind, he has no idea where he's going. Instead of playing the game the normal way, he just makes a bold choice and goes down immediately. Now, I know it's been more than a minute, so the second hook happens. And this man will die on the hook in 1 minute. With Ruin up, I could almost afford just camp him for 1 minute, but even that would be risky. So I'm gonna fake out the teleport and try to use pop while still keeping an eye on him. I want my teleport to be available because I want to teleport to this one gen. With discordance going on, we know exactly where we need to be. That was probably a very smart bait from them though, because they went immediately. A bad management of their exhaustion perks gets me this easy hit. The map also really helps being so open. And she goes down immediately, but I'm not gonna pick her up. Trust me, if I hook each person individually, I will not win this game. Not yet. Now we just need to tunnel this man down. Ruin is gone, which means someone's not been doing much. He did get borrowed time, which is a really, really good thing for him. But as a Freddy Krueger, he cannot play against it. Without a terror radius, he needs to mend. Or in 15 seconds, he'll go down. And here he could have used this pallet, but decides not to. And goes down. Now I just need to wait 1 minute. 1 minute after his hook. Pick him up. And kill him. That will be my plan. If they don't manage to do 2 gens in that time, the game is now really, really looking good for me. In this 1 minute, I need to make the most out of it. I hear someone injured and try to pressure them, but they're using sprint burst very effectively. They wait until I'm near, and then they start running. Look at the lens this player is ready to go to, so that his other teammate can stand up. Notice that he didn't get picked up by anybody else. That was his own unbreakable. But he knows that if he uses unbreakable next to me, I'm just gonna chase him and down him. So he got his teammate to get pulled out of a locker so that he would have a bit of more time. So what I did here was teleport elsewhere. Now he can see me, but it doesn't matter. It's too late. This man, he's already dead. And with him, it's only 3 players left. From now on, I can afford to hook anybody I want. When I hook someone, I will not care about defending them. All I will care about is the pop goes the whistle kick that I'll get out of it. With 3 people, pop goes the whistle becomes much, much stronger. And you don't have to be very selective in who you hook. You can hook down about anybody that gives you an easy chase and use that pop on the gen that has the most work. As you will see in a minute, they also had a bit of a 3-gen problem, where they started doing gens in the side of the map, and I had 3 or 4 gens that were relatively close together. That with my teleport plus the visibility of this very open map means they're gonna have a really, really hard time as soon as I get this man killed. And I know he has no other defenses, so he's going up on the hook. My only fear here was about an insta-heal, so I did not want to risk it. Instead, I picked him up. And off to the hook he goes. And I think this person tries to get my attention. It doesn't matter. My mind was set. These are the 3 gens I'm going to be eyeing. The one I just walked over and these 3. Despite Ruin, despite not working on gens together, they have done an amazing job. And if I had been any slower, trust me, this game would have been over. This person tries to use sprint burst, which normally would be very nice, but she's asleep. Meaning that the snares are really doing their job. And that she takes the first hit relatively easy. She will have to drop this pallet though. And that will be the trend for the rest of the game. People will try to use pallets, try to use their resources as effectively as they can. But because they're in a 3-man versus 1 killer, it will just be not sustainable. And slowly, more clumsily here and there, but slowly, I will eventually just win in this battle of attrition. Notice what I did here, by the way. I teleport to another generator to keep them guessing. This girl was in a safe spot. She could have dropped that pallet. She chose not to. And instead I caught her a little bit off guard and that got me the second hit. When everybody is asleep, my teleport is a lot faster, so I can actually afford to kick and then teleport back. We went to this pallet earlier, but I don't think we dropped it yet. That's right. And now she has to drop it. It was a big relief to see that this generator had no work done. And I thought also, I was very, very happy to give that one up, although it surprised me a bit. It was very, very relieving also not to see any rescue. But if they had been going for a rescue, I would have just downed the person off the hook. And I would have done the same thing as before, denying them of their perks, basically, and forcing them to play a little bit in a more unusual way, which I don't think they were quite expecting. Notice my choice of targets here. I could have easily picked her up, but I don't want to get decisive. I do not want to give them anything at all. If they have Unbreakable, they can use it once and then it will be over. This person is now asleep and my traps will eventually get her. And by traps, I mean snares. She decides not to draw the pallet, so I put a snare on one side, a snare on the other, and now a simple mind game. And that's enough to close the gap. It was very obvious that she was going to go for the locker. Notice that if the object of obsession was still in the game, they would be giving call-outs. He would say, he is mind gaming you at the edge of the wall. Stay where you are. Okay, now he's coming. They can do this to a variety of killers. They can give out very accurate information. And chasing the object is, of course, very, very difficult. So that's what they're counting on. With the object gone, they now play the game normally. That Claudette might have been able to be hit through that window. But she played that really smart. I didn't expect it. I heard a little noise here, and I wasn't sure of it because she moved really well, but she should have stood still. Good use of sprint burst, fantastic diversion. I will pretend to teleport there just to get the movement in the wrong side, and that got me a hit. It's very, very important. Cheeky play. I didn't even mind it, by the way. It's very important that you get people asleep with Freddy. That helps with your cooldown, and it also helps with your snares being effective. I teleported here to try and catch her off guard. It didn't quite work, but I will be approaching from an unusual angle, which is what Freddy's all about. I ended up hitting someone I wasn't even expecting, but it also worked out. Here, if she tries to play the pallet, she will get hit. That's why she drops it immediately. Good point. Good play by her, I mean. That was a little bit confusing, but now I'm on track. And I will be able to down her here. However, I don't know if you noticed what happened, but... now everybody's asleep. At this point, I figured that they must really be onto that discordance, because they're not stacking on gens at all. This robs me of information, but it also makes their strategy more predictable. I was a little bit concerned about that gen. But I'll pick her up, and no matter how many hooks she's got left, I'm gonna be able to get a pop out of her. It doesn't matter where. A really commendable job, and a cheeky make it drop, I suppose. Luckily, since they were all asleep, well, as many of them asleep as possible, really. Teleporting was a good idea there. Another sprint burst, we expected that. And they tried to take a hit for each other, which I think was a bad idea, considering that one of them was asleep. But I cannot pick her up, or else this girl will go for a play. Using brute force to just get the pallet down might have been the best choice here. But I failed this little mind game. And that I need to commend them for. I will teleport to that gen to see if I can catch the third person off guard and keep pressuring everybody. I forgot, I guess I didn't teleport, I just walked there. And we're now in a similar situation. Whether that person got helped or it was unbreakable, I am not sure. I tried to do a similar mind game here. And that was enough to get the pallet dropped. I am happy to eat through it. Luckily, this is one of the maps with not so many pallets. They're mostly very safe, mind you, but there's not so many of them that I can run through a pallet forever. Everybody's asleep, so more snares. If they come here, they'll let me know. I wanted to scare anybody off. And it didn't quite work. This person saw me coming. But hey, we got another pallet drop immediately. And now I'm ready to teleport to that gen and just try to catch her off guard. I just found someone else. Notice that I moved to the right to bait her into thinking that I don't expect her to ignore the window. I look to the right. Let's watch it again, in fact. Yeah, let's watch it again. Here will be the critical moment. I thought that this was an interesting play. Right at this moment here. She sees me very clearly, very blatantly go straight for the door. I know she can make it to the window. She thinks that I know that she's going to the window and that I'm going to go through the door and I'm going to try and catch her. And she does the smart thing, or thinks she does the smart thing, by ignoring the window and instead creating more distance going to the pallet on the other side. But this backfires because I just turned last second. The snare from before is still there, and this is a critical moment. The fact that that pallet didn't come down a second earlier, I think will really, really cost them. If this girl had managed to extend that chase for a bit longer, that might have been a generator popping. But unfortunately, it didn't work out for them. I'm immediately going back to this gen, which I know is the one with the most progress. And Bob at this stage really, really hurts. Notice that as a Freddy, I am not afraid of borrowed time. I will happily contest it. And in this loop, if she doesn't know the pallet, she's dead. One gen got done, which is really, really good for them. But it really doesn't matter at this point. Unless they seriously outplay me. I at this point, while I wasn't cocky, I was confident that it would probably come down to a hatch game. One person sprinting away, injured. One person healthy. I'll go for the person that's healthy. Let the other person have time to heal. And if she doesn't heal, she'll be easier to track. That was my reasoning at the time. This person also was running to the part of the map where everything was gone. So I think it was a pretty easy choice. And here we're gonna see the same maneuver that makes Freddy so damn strong. Trap on one side. Trap on the other, go through the middle. Whatever she does, she's gonna get hit. The only good play there is to drop the pallet. And in this map, dropping the pallet early, it's not gonna let you get away with it. You need to actually squeeze it out of time, which wasn't possible. I was very tempted at this point to slug and try to go for the 4K. But I was satisfied enough. I thought if they get the hatch, they've earned it. And I also did not want to let them get an unbreakable off. So I just picked her up and try to find the closest hook. And for the next few minutes or so, we're gonna have a very non-intense, very worthy of commentary segment where I just look for the hatch. I know that she's asleep, so she's easy to see, and her, her clothes, her blending, it's not gonna really come into account because she's asleep. Here I teleport a little bit to cover more distance, and she's also gonna leave blood on the ground. So I'm just looking for any sign of a sleep survivor, while also trying to listen in for the hatch. Whoever finds the hatch first will probably win the game, most likely. And here, at this point, was it here? No, I guess I go on for a lot longer. Yeah, this went on for a bit longer. So don't mind the frantic searching. I'm sure the person was really really careful because she couldn't leave blood trails or running the distance. There's a lot of line of sights, which makes this map one of the more killer-sided ones. It's not really a killer-sided map for most killers, but for the really strong ones, the ones with really good mobility, such as Billy, Nurse, this map is a slaughterhouse for most survivors. If they bring balanced landing, they also don't really get to use it very much. So props to them for using a map offering that has a chance to send them here. I think it's, in retrospect, I think it's obvious that these guys are practicing for something. But my rationale was, listen, do you hear that? I heard that. That was a very cheeky Iron Will. I didn't trust it at first. If she had stood still, I would have never seen her, most likely. But I heard a little bit of something. As I was saying, my rationale coming up with this build and doing this was, if these people are prepared and they don't do it unfairly, but if they use everything they can within reason to play as optimally as possible, if I'm going to go up against them, I'm going to play as optimally as possible. And hopefully you get a little bit of a kick out of reading the post-game chat. Nothing toxic, but I enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching. I'll hopefully see you in the next one. Also, for any Freddy naysayers, I hope this will convince you that Freddy can indeed be the fourth, if not the third best killer in the game. Hopefully this proves it to you that he can shut down a lot of strategies. But as I was saying, I'll see you in the next one. Thank you again so much for watching.